I'll speak a little bit and then we'll get into, kind of the tattoo process and stuff. But I'm Jonathan Nash. Some of you have gotten tattooed by me quite a bit, but I'm one of the tattoo artists at Time and Tide Tattoo on 6th Street, and Giacomo DelRio is one of my coworkers also, and he's been tattooing a lot longer than me, but tattooing, it's really interesting because we find these fossilized remains of our ancestors, and from the dawn of time, as soon as we could mark ourselves, we've been doing it. So tattooing, while what someone was doing thousands of years ago is different than what we're doing now, there's still this kind of traditional aspect and almost kind of like primalness to it, as far as there's still pigment being put into the skin. And one of my favorite things about tattooing is it's a very intimate process. Especially doing larger projects and tattoos on people, you spend a lot of time with that person, and become more of, instead of a professional relationship, you learn a lot more about each other, and you kind of go through this journey together to get to this, common point and goal. So, but I brought with me some newspapers here and a magazine. Back in 2017, Colin McLean, one of the other guys we work with and owner of Time and Tide Tattoo, put on an exhibit at the Grunwald Gallery, kind of an Indiana tattoo history. And Indiana tattoo history is kind of interesting because tattooing really wasn't legal here in Indiana until the mid-90s. So, legally, yeah, it's, we're just now entering into our adulthood as tattooers legally, I guess. But this poster over here, it's not the original, but a replica. In the 70s, John Mellencamp brought this guy, Kevin Brady, from LA, and had this kind of dream that Bloomington would be this, epicenter, and that celebrities could kind of come here, and while they were passing through here, touring, whatnot, they could get tattooed, and there would be this really talented tattooer. And on that poster, you can see some of the celebrities, from Ozzy Osbourne to members of Motley Crue, that Kevin Brady had tattooed. But there was kind of a fallout that had happened, and they ended up getting busted that they were tattooing illegally here in Bloomington. So they had to go to court and trial to, try and legalize, tattooing. And the case was going so well that, practically all they had to do was show up, and tattooing was going to be legal in the, 70s. Well, Kevin Brady is nowhere to be found midway through the trial. So, everybody's freaking out, where is he? He's got to be here, blah, blah, blah. Well, come to find out, he was struggling with addiction and stuff, but Mellencamp found that out and kicked him to the curb, and tattooing went back to, the dark ages for another 20 years. So it's kind of interesting, take a peek at that. It's fun to, be hypothetical and think about what if, that wouldn't have happened, and what, would have happened if maybe tattooing had become legalized in the 70s. But, yeah, and then, flip through these magazines. But, yeah, we're going to be tattooing a cedar waxwing with juniper berries. So feel free to come up, look, ask any questions. I'm going to kind of go through the process and kind of, do some narration as I'm going. But, if there's any questions or anything, feel free to ask. And Giacomo's doing
a leopard.
Yeah, baby leopard.
Baby leopard.
Ooh.
So cool.
Yes.
Some good ASMR going right now.
Thank you. No, but it's been 22 years since the last one. So it's...
I went, doing it in person, your first tattoo seems pretty nervy.
Well, I tend to be a little nervy, but I've got several tattoos. But isn't this cool? Yeah, he showed me the bluebird and I was all about the bluebird, and then when he showed me this, I'm like,
Yeah, we were kind of torn, but I'm excited. I haven't gotten to tattoo a cedar waxwing before, so it's very exciting. Okay, I'm gonna have you go ahead and stand up for me. And then just kind of come around a little bit. Yeah, just come over here for me. And then turn this way. Other way, sorry. Do you mind moving your hair for me?
oh, I almost pulled it back, and I can if you want me to.
Oh, no, you're okay. So I'm just gonna clean the skin, and it's good practice. We always just kind of run a razor just because it helps remove dead skin cells and, kind of helps clean the area, so.
One thing that's going to be interesting for me is I was like 40, early 40s last time I got tattooed, and now I'm almost 70, and I'm kind of curious how the skin changes over the years and what that will do. Yeah, I know.
Your arms up there.
But, yeah, he came and looked at my arms to make sure it was going to work. He said, yeah, they're okay.
Take this real quick. All right, so I'm just applying a stencil adhesive. Really just helps the stencil grab to the skin and get a better hold. Because the last thing we want is disappearing image midway through, and I might remember how that bird looks from memory, but I might not.
My friend Ransom let a little girl tattoo him. His mom was in the studio getting a tattoo.
Do you like
She was so curious. She was probably about 6. And so
And
he
it just
said, "Well,"
relax this down
he
for me,
said,
sorry.
"Well, you want to try?" And so he let her tattoo. She tattooed a really cute little girl Daisy on his leg. He loves it. It's like one of his favorites.
Will you stand so I
Very
can
Lisa
see?
Frank. Is it gonna be hot pink?
Just stand up straight.
Pink is not my color.
Me neither. Yeah, actually, there's 2 seats right here. If you guys want to get front row seats.
Jonathan, should I shift him at all?
Picture and
Like stand a little bit.
It's tough because that inner part of the shin, it's not the same on each side. But I mean, as far as like being centered on the leg, I feel like that looks good. It lines up with like the top of, where his bottom jaw, top of that other one.
Okay.
Would you like to check this out in the mirror just real quick
Okay.
I like it.
before we make it too permanent? Looks good? Awesome. And what I'll do too is I'll talk a little bit about this as I'm tattooing, but yes, please. I brought some various just different types of tattoo machines, so I probably wouldn't touch, but more than welcome to come up and look, and I'll kind of talk about some of the different types and why we use different ones for what, or what kind of wacky things they do. But okay, just kind of bring your arm over. I think we're gonna lower this just a little bit.
Is that good?
Let's see. Kind of lean over a little bit more. Is that okay for you? Okay. If that's good for you, I'll be good too.
I'm so glad you guys came. My eyes will probably bulge out for a minute.
Yeah, there's always an adjustment period, so kind of takes a few to get settled in, but the body kind of starts to produce endorphins and, it kind of levels out. But everybody, okay. Hopefully I won't be moving too much now. All right.
Oh, gee, I'd already thought about that.
I always preference this sounds way scarier than what it actually feels like, but you know, despite this angry bee noise that'll be going, do a little line first, let you kind of get settled in, and we'll get going, okay? All right, ready?
So I've never done color before, so do you do all like the outline and then fill it in after?
Right, so 9 times out of 10, the process always is outline first and then kind of like either the shading or the color or kind of like rendering the tattoo second. As with most things, sometimes there's always like an exception to the rule, but we'll do the whole outline and then move on to the color. So my machine, it's not the original tattoo machine. The top two over here are what's called coil machines, and those are the original like tattoo machines. They're derived from a Thomas Edison invention actually for an electric audiograph pen. Tweaked a little bit and turned into a tattoo machine, but still operates in the same way in the sense that, like the name is coil machine, and it gets that because there's these wires wrapped around a coil in those machines, and a circuit of energy gets turned on and off very rapidly as it flows through, and that's what, when that circuit is on, it pulls the bar down very quickly, and when it gets turned off, it releases the bar back up. This machine, as well as the one Giacomo's using and one I'll be using in a little bit, they actually have a motor in them versus like relying on this like current of energy. There's kind of pros and cons to each, but they just run a lot more consistently if they have a motor. Coil machines like need a lot of tuning periodically because a lot of the components, there's springs and different things kind of change as they get used, so you kind of have to tinker with them off and on, where rotary machines like these two, there's a lot less like tuning involved. Once they're kind of set up, they stay that way for a very long time.
Can you take questions while you're doing this?
Yeah, 100%.
Anybody wants to ask some questions? Well, yeah. I mean, Wayne's back there recording it, so. Yeah, thank you for asking. It's fine.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, you know, application and like technique is, you know, one of the most like obvious important things, but not all inks and pigments are made, you know, equally. Some, you know, like lighter yellows, very soft like pinks, even some like browns, just the metals and things that those pigments are composed of just don't last as long as some of the like deeper, richer colors or black. You know, black is for sure, you know, the most like permanent color that, you know, stands the test of time the most. But kind of like when I was saying about application and technique, you know, you can do a lot with proper saturation under the skin and you know, application. There's a lot of variables that go into like a tattoo healing up and how that tattoo is going to do long term, and I mean everything from like where it's at on the body to how much like skin or sun exposure it gets, you know, lifestyle of said person. You know, most of you know, everybody at the shop, we all kind of, our background is in traditional tattooing, so from there it kind of branches out a little bit depending on, you know, what inspires kind of each artist. And, you know, if you, I always say, like, if you ask, you know, if you said, hey, I want, I don't know, a skull and a dagger, you know, from each of us you would get 4 very different skulls and daggers.
Yeah, that was interesting to me when we were talking about doing the show, and each of, originally there were going to be 4 artists showing, and it ended up being 2, but each of their work is so different, you know, which is, of course, they're artists, you know, but when you think about, oh, someone's going to get a tattoo, but you don't necessarily know what that means or how it's going to look. Can you get you some water if you need some?
It helps to have it actually artist, tattoo. Yeah. Tattooers are what? Yeah.
So
Oh,
me,
that's a good distinction.
coming, no, 100%, and a little bit about me, and coming, I had never really spent much time in Bloomington growing up, and I grew up in Terre Haute, and when I got into tattooing in Terre Haute, there was a person I worked with who really, like, they had gotten tattooed by Colin McLean at the shop a few times, and like was like, you know, you have to get tattooed by this guy. You have to go and get tattooed by this guy in Bloomington, like, you know. So yeah, you know, after, you know, for anyone who doesn't know, his wife is right here. So, but I promise I'm only saying good things. No, no, you're okay. But yeah, when I first came to Time and Tide, one of the things like I immediately like recognized and loved was just like the motivation and like inspiration, and kind of like what Megan was saying is like in tattooing, you know, there can be a lot of like replication, and that is like a talent and a skill. But one thing I loved was like everyone there every single day is constantly drawing, constantly, you know, improving their craft, like, you know, painting, doing like comic illustrations. I mean, you know, one of the guys that we work with, he's got a strong background in like graffiti art, so even like learning about that, and, you know, I mean, he travels across the country, and this, you know, group that he's with, they get commissioned to do, you know, sides of buildings or, you know, these really large projects. But it's interesting because not too long ago, you know, tattooing was still kind of a subculture, and you went to a part of town that your parents told you to always stay away from, and there was some, big scary biker guy that, was angry that you were in there. And now, you could, throw a rock and hit a tattoo shop. So it's very interesting. I myself didn't necessarily experience that change, but like Giacomo, Colin, and Jason, the other guys at the shop who have been tattooing a lot longer, it's really interesting to hear their perspective on, just how much how much more mainstream and the rise of social media have really impacted and changed tattooing, and just how tattooers kind of went about business and the flow of things, and even the accessibility of like tattooing.
Do you feel like because it is so common now that people are being more, I guess, less thoughtful about what they're putting on their bodies? I mean, I'm just curious. Or do you feel like people are still thinking, this is going to be forever on my body and I want to really think about it?
I think yes and no. I think we, definitely get some people or do some tattoos where we're like, man, we'll probably see that person again at some point for a cover-up or something. But, I would say for the most part, though, there's, still general consideration for like what's going to, work best for me, what's going to look the best, because, and sometimes this isn't always the highest priority for the client, but for us, most of the time the highest priority is like what's going to look best, not only like today, but, down the road, because, a painting, with the exception of maybe getting, put out in the sun all the time, but a tattoo is going to go through many kind of different stages throughout its life. How a tattoo looks at, 30 minutes after it's done versus a year versus 5 years versus, 25 years is going to be very different. So I feel like, and it can be hard too sometimes, like when you're tattooing, like, well, how do I predict what a tattoo is going to look like in 20 years if I haven't even done a tattoo that's 20 years old,
That's a good point.
So that's kind of one thing too why, when I say like we all have a background in like traditional, is like there's kind of fads that come and go in tattooing, or kind of trends, and it's interesting to see like even like in real time some of that happen, but there's like kind of some constants that always remain the same. And I think one reason why traditional art is still just as prevalent today is because we back up a little bit, 70, 100 years ago when these people were doing tattoos, they didn't like realize that they were like necessarily making a style of tattooing. They were just doing a tattoo the only way that they knew that they could, and but through that, we, through all this, decades and being able to see these tattoos, it helped to build kind of like a framework for like, okay, this is what we know works, and you kind of owe it to yourself and to the client to like, give them something that, yes, is going to look really cool now, but also is going to look, good for them down the road. Because nothing's worse than like, being like, here's my, phone, and you should have seen what this looked like 5 years ago. This, don't look at it now, but,
I have a question. You keep referring to traditional tattoo, and that makes me, like, what do you mean? You mean, like, the American traditional tattoo? Because, I mean, there's so many
Right,
tribal tattoos.
so traditional, when I kind of refer to it, I do think of like like American traditional tattooing. Now, I say American because like, you know, we're in like the USA. I mean, there's tons of, you know, tattooers in like Italy and in the UK that were doing basically the same style. Just here it's American traditional because that's, you know, where we're from. But, you know, characterized by like a, you know, very distinct bold outline most of the time, very, you know, saturated color, you know, very high contrast, lots of black to make that color, you know, very pop.
Okay.
The goal is like to have a very readable image, you know, but when they would design these tattoos, they had to design them because, in a very specific way, because they used, how I use the stencil application and this Thermofax paper, they used to have to use acetates, and they would etch in these images on like a hard piece of acetate, and they would take graphite or charcoal and rub that in, and then press that on the skin. So think about how easy it is to smear charcoal, you know? So, you know, when you're doing this lady's face, it's got to be simple enough to where, you know, if you lose her left eye, you can, you know, replace a left eye pretty easily. But, you know, I mean, it's really interesting that, you know, given some of those limitations, the tattoos that were coming out of, you know, 70 years ago, I mean, it's incredible. I mean, I feel like sometimes nowadays people think of like Ed Hardy and they think of like some, I'll just say douchebag and, you know, the dazzled shirt and, you know, whatever. But, you know, so much of what's being done today can be traced to like something he already did, you know, in like the 80s. I mean, prior to Ed Hardy, custom tattoos weren't even really a thing. Ed Hardy's like credited with having the first like custom tattoo shop.
You know, I think about early tattoos like sailors, you know? And my dad was in the Navy and everybody would get like some sort of tattoo. And when he was born in 1927, and when he was in high school, so about 18, whatever that was, 1935, he and all his best friends, there were 4 of them, and they're like guys that hung out together, they each had a tattoo on their fingers together. It's like a Japanese, you know, symbol of some sort, and they all 4 had that like their whole life. And I remember after he passed away and just seeing that for the last time and thinking, you know, how far back that went and what it meant to him, you know? Yeah, so I kind of think of the Navy a lot when I think of early American tattoos.
Yeah, and one, you know, kind of to piggyback on that and elaborate more, one of the things that catapulted tattooing was like, you know, servicemen, you know, and their tattoos, and it became really synonymous with Hawaii and World War II because, you know, these troops would get stationed out there, and I mean, they're getting ready to like basically go through like hell, you know, fighting through the Pacific. And Hawaii was kind of this, you know, last slice of like, you know, paradise before, I mean, you know, getting ready to go through, you know, this incredible, you know, traumatic thing. So I mean, it was very, there's an old Sailor Jerry tattoo that says, brewed, tattooed, and screwed. And it was, you know, you would go drink, go get a tattoo, and then make your way to the, you know, brothel just down the street. But, you know. Yeah, I mean, even like pinup art, you know, these men would paint these women, you know, very voluptuously, and, you know, it was like, you know, well, this is the girl that's going to be waiting for me when I get back, and, you know, yeah, it's interesting. A lot of like, a lot of tattooing, like famous traditional old tattooers, a lot of their shops were in cities or near like military bases and stuff, because for a long time, I mean, tattooing has always been a blue collar thing. It's never been like a, you know, I don't know, here's my physician who's like coming to get his whole back done or something. It's always been like working class people. And
Don't you think that's changed though?
I think some for sure. I mean, and not like, you know, necessarily in a bad way. Like, I mean, we see all walks of life, you know, every single day. And that's good, because to me, and I feel like one thing, you know, at the shop we always kind of think about is like, tattooing is like, it is like an art job, but it's very much like a people and like a community job also, you know? So
Very intimate, you know?
yeah, and it's nice to be available to, like, you know, more of the public, but that goes in hand with the fact that tattooing isn't necessarily like this scary kind of taboo thing anymore. I mean, we still get lots of people, young people that, maybe just a little, yeah, that are like, well, where can I get this so, you know, my grandma doesn't disown me when I see her at Thanksgiving, or, you know. But yeah, I mean, it's all just changed a lot, you know. And as with every, you know, thing, sometimes for the better, sometimes not. It's hard to sometimes know, you know, right away. But I think like more people and a wider group of people getting tattooed is definitely a good thing.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely, I think, changed.
When my sister got her first one, it was like,
Is she your older sister?
she's younger.
Oh,
but
okay.
she's more.
I was gonna say, I feel sorry for my older sister, because
Yeah.
she got to try and do all the things first, and then got in trouble, and then I got to do
Yeah.
them.
Took all
And
the
then
credit, right?
yeah,
Blazed the trail for 'em.
yeah, trailblazer.
All right, so I'm switching machines to a rotary pen, like what Giacomo's using, and these are nice because they can do a little bit of everything. They're designed to be very like versatile.
It's a lot quieter.
It's a little bit easier on the ears for sure, but any machine can do anything. But certain coil or rotary machines, they're kind of, especially coil machines, they're really built with like a specific purpose in mind. That one that I was using is designed for like doing line work specifically. So, I mean, it can do other stuff, but where it's going to excel the best is in doing line work.
It's a lot lighter on the skin too.
Yeah. So while we're using the same amount of needles. To that other machine, we were using a liner that has 7 needles that are packed very tightly together that basically make a dot. And to make a line, it's just a dot, you know, a lot of times, you know, just on, you know, a single plane. But this is a smaller gauge needle, so it's going to make a, you know, smaller dot. But they're also packed a little bit tighter together to give us like a finer detail line.
I used to be in a relationship with a tattoo artist, and his studio, I just remember he would have people come in, oftentimes late at night, and people were blitzed and they wanted to get a tattoo, and a lot of times they wanted to get the name of their friend, you know, they're of the moment tattooed. And I respected him so much because he would never do it. He would always say, you need to sleep on it for 2 days and come back and talk to me about it again. Because, I mean, he could have made money, but it was just like, I'm not doing that.
It makes me think there's a really funny, like, Why Does Kids You Know sketch. It's like a comedy group. And somebody comes in and they're just totally wasted. And they're like, I want, a marijuana leaf with Bowser in the middle. And, like, what else?
Riding a surfboard.
Riding a surfboard.
Shredding on a guitar.
Shredding on a guitar with, like, Happy Birthday Mike or something. You know,
Yeah.
And I'm like, no.
The difference between alcohol and psychedelics.
That's a good point.
I like looking at really bad tattoos too sometimes, and there's people that have like literally it says like no regrets.
No regrets.
No regrets. It makes me laugh so hard whenever I see those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which one? Oh.
Yeah. I actually got to do a Sucky Panther tattoo on a guy. I don't know if anyone is familiar with who Old Greg is.
Oh yeah.
But it was an Old Greg Sucky Panther.
That would be awesome.
How's it going over there?
It's going well. Remain calm. I'm really still. I'm a busy body, so.
Yes.
That's part of the problem. I have restless legs. So
Oh my goodness.
typically by the end of like a tattoo, I am ready to run and stretch my legs. So far, so good.
Speaking of which, if anybody needs to get up and get a drink, or feel free. Except for me, yeah. That's true. Yeah, no, I think
So if you had to kind of describe what does the sensation kind of feel like to you, or remind you of,
this one is way more just a vibration. I don't hardly feel it at all.
I forgot to bring them.
The other one, I mean, you definitely felt it, but it wasn't like horribly painful or anything. It was just like just a small discomfort, but not anything to write home about.
Yeah, I always say it's kind of like a sharp stinging sensation, but there's more so like, I've been told I've got the gentle caress.
I guess you do, because I wouldn't have expressed it being a stinging, and it just I don't know, just a tiny discomfort. I mean, if it was hurting, you'd see me grimacing, and I'm not.
I've heard that like upper arm is kind of a big place.
Yeah, this is about the least, if I remember correctly, from a long time ago. Yeah, yeah. Because the other tattoos I have on my back, and then I have one that like wraps around my leg, and it's vines and dancing people. It's kind of cool, but that was like 22 years ago, and I have to say hi. Well,
Hello.
hi. I have to say that. As you age, having really thin, pretty vines twisting around your leg is maybe not the best idea. It's like, oh, my old lady leg. Somebody asked me if I had. It's like, looked a lot better when I was 40 than. but it's very fine, thin lines. So.
Jess, did you say that you do cosmetic tattooing?
Oh, thank
Also,
you.
Jess is a cosmetic tattooer.
Yes,
You would ask questions about
I
that.
do permanent makeup tattooing at time and time. Yes, I also manage the shop. And yes, when I'm not running around there, I do have appointments. I mainly do eyebrows and lip blushing. But I can do lash liner. That one is still pretty nerve-wracking right by the eye. I haven't done that nearly as much as I have brows and lips. I'm about 3 years in, so I'm still very new. But I have pretty good results, and I have happy clients. So, yeah. Thank you, Mother.
Someone who's had a lot of it.
Yes, I'm going to do Megan's wish one of these days. I really want.
Well, it's so. Oh, sorry.
You never again want to get eyeliner.
Yeah, you got a pretty bad experience.
Yeah, I let somebody who was new practice doing eyeliner on me. Not this eyeliner.
Didn't you have like
This is big.
blood running down
I've
your
had
face?
my eyebrows, yeah. It was bad. My
That is
eyes
not
like
normal.
bleeding.
I will let everyone know that is
But
not.
I was gonna say, I was like, I did not get to
Zip it,
practice.
There
Yeah,
is no visible blood pouring down the face of any permanent makeup. That was not.
No.
That is why she will never get
Yeah,
it.
you're saying don't go to that person.
Yeah, that's what.
I mean, yes, that's exactly right.
Yeah, that sounds horrible.
Yeah.
We can make blood from antibiotics.
Right? You just signed up for that.
Did it eventually
You okay?
fade, or do you still have some of that? The liner?
No, I don't have any of it.
Okay, so it just eventually faded.
Yeah, I mean, it was someone who was practicing, so I'm sure that with, more time experience. I don't know. But I just had her do like just here. I didn't do the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
Because
Hey,
my
Megan.
nail was
Hey, Megan, will you take a picture of it at this point? I'd kind of like to see. Because you just about got the black done, right?
I think we are done with the
Yeah,
outline.
I'd just like to see the outline.
Yeah, and if anyone would like to come up and
Yeah, come
take a closer look at the outline.
Cool.
That's so pretty. What?
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, these kind of bolder lines is what we were doing first, and then these thinner ones are the detail lines we've
Oh,
been
here's
doing.
Wayne taking a picture.
Yeah.
So my thing with birds goes way back to my childhood. I don't know if you've seen my father and mother's.
Thank God.
Nice. My father and mother's artwork is all nature work, and my dad painted. You can see some of his work. Lots and lots of birds, and so my first business that I ever had was a Wild Birds Unlimited franchise, and we put up lots and lots of bluebird boxes, around like 200 at Lake Monroe with volunteers, and then we monitored them. So when he first presented me with a bluebird, I thought that's the bird I have the biggest connection with because of all those boxes we put up. But I also always just had an affinity
never
for
been
cedar waxwings.
like this.
And my dad, there is one
With
piece
time and
back
tide.
there, my dad's, and then
It's like
there's a
that skin
reproduction in there
flake
of cedar
sometimes
waxwings.
for a while.
They're
but
just
it's-
such
it's
graphically
really-
beautiful birds. I mean, I think they're just the
you don't
most
know what to
striking.
think. It's so stressful.
I mean, and when I was in UP Upper Peninsula of Michigan,
You
I
wanna
got to see
see
Bohemian waxwings. which
So
are just
far.
another waxwing, but even more graphically
Thank you.
interesting, I think.
Yeah. Just doing little tiny lines.
Yeah, I love
right
the
now.
way that their plumage just, I mean, it looks like so soft. It like looks like a cloud,
I remember too with cedar waxwings that we used to have cherry trees,
That's
and
true.
you were just waiting for the cherries to get ripe, so you could pick them and make cherry pies or whatever. But you'd get an entire flock fly in like one night or day and just like eat them all, and then just like your cherry trees like gone from just all the cherries are gone.
Then they move on to the next one.
Yeah, and a huge flock of them.
I love how social they are.
Yes, yeah. It's fun. I mean, I was nervous because I just hadn't done it in so long, but it's really not bad. This must be a really good spot to have done. So if you're thinking about one, I
Well, and
recommend.
apparently he's very.
Very gentle.
Thank you,
yeah.
Joe.
Yes, yes, gentle
So
caress.
that's why we came back, because I do want to get my next.
Yeah,
So
have
I was
Jonathan.
like, I want to research
Yeah.
on the spot. So,
Well,
yeah. No, I'm excited about like putting it. Yeah. I'll put it down.
now, are you beginning to fill in, or what are you doing?
Mm-hmm. I'm beginning to start rendering, so
Like shading at this point?
shading and kind of coloring. We're working with like a dark gray, so most of the time in tattooing, you kind of work from your darkest tones to your lightest. So if you work the other way around, sometimes you can run the risk of the colors staining each other. So, you know, if you were to do a nice, pretty yellow and then you go and do some black or, you know, I don't know, gray, some other dark color, it would kind of muddy that color. You run that risk. So
Kind of like watercolor.
Mhm.
We just said the same thing.
it's interesting because, like, there's no real other, like, medium that, like, truly is like, you know, well, if you go paint, you know, tattoo flash and watercolor, you'll be able to tattoo, you know, or a lot of older tattooers would do like color studies on like tracing paper or vellum with like colored pencil, or, you know, some people, you know, do acrylics, whatever. But it's got components of all those different types of art in tattooing because, you know, kind of like when you are using a colored pencil, you know, when you start filling in an area, it's not completely solid. You know, it's kind of grainy, especially depending on the paper, but very much so in tattooing, the first pass isn't like a complete solid pass, you know, like where if you're laying down a thick gob of acrylic paint, you can just completely saturate, you know, an area. But there's blending involved in tattooing, and that very much so acts like, you know, like painting with acrylics.
I just think that the canvas is so different.
Yeah,
You know,
no, for sure. Yeah, I don't think I've done an acrylic painting that starts bleeding. But
Is this your first tattoo?
No. It's my first in 22 years, though, so it's been a long time. Ransom did all my other ones.
so yeah, you'll see me kind of periodically, I'll dip between colors to get kind of a mid-tone to, especially like on the cedar waxwing, you know, especially when we get up kind of onto the shoulder and in the neck, and there's a very smooth transition all the way up through the head. There's not really like, you know, here until we get here kind of on his mask on his face, there's not like a very bold, you know, stop. So you know, I will be kind of slowly blending and, you know, making a nice gradation of those colors. So it's kind of like when you're painting with acrylics or even like watercolor.
So your tattoo, Jess, is way closer to the bone.
Yes,
It's right on the
You mentioned
Yeah, 'cause
I feel the bone.
I was gonna say, that one you must be feeling that one.
I do feel it, yes. But I definitely would say I've had some worse spots.
What's the word?
Well, probably the side of my neck. I went in and I did numb part of it, and I was like thinking it was gonna be like this smaller rose. And then Colin was like, if you're gonna do it, go big or go home. Brought out this massive rose for the side of my neck, and about 1/3 of it was numbed. And I questioned my life choices during that. As I was like laying there trying to like hold my head up and like push against Colin pushing on my neck, I was like, why am I here? But I do love it so much.
Yeah.
So I'm glad he was like, just go bigger, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. But unfortunately, I wish they felt better than they did, but it's always worth it when they're done.
Yeah.
The minute it's over and stuff, I'm like so happy.
Yeah.
Normally by the end, I'm like, don't ever touch me again. But yeah, with the finished product, they do such great work, so
Yeah.
I do always love it. It's the best part.
Yeah.
But yeah, every day at work, I sit there and watch people who can get tattooed for like hours, and I will be honest, I am a bit of a baby.
I was gonna say.
I will whine. Especially because Giacomo here is my boyfriend for 6 years, so I sometimes think that affects it, and I know he'll be a little more patient with me, so sometimes we divide up the larger projects into maybe more appointments than another client might get. But he's very patient with me, and they do seem to be hurting more as I age, I definitely can tell that they get worse as you get older, so. Yeah, I don't remember them in my 20s being so bad. And yeah, now I have to kind of psych myself up.
See, I was in my early 40s when I got my first.
Yeah, I definitely started, I think I got one when I was 17.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, something little. So I've been into tattoos, and I had some when I started working at Time and Tide 8 years ago, but there's been a drastic change.
Yeah.
Pictures from then to now are pretty drastic. Most of the visible skin is covered, so.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of funny because I think in some ways it can be a kind of an addictive thing, where you start to see your body as a canvas, and what would look good on this,
yes. And like you brought up how there are some people who really think about it and want every tattoo to be memorable or mean something. And I just feel like as I've gotten more and more, they don't have that with me. They're like, oh, that looks cool. Oh, someone didn't want that design. I'll get it. So, yes, if it's something that resonates with me at the time or I like it, I'm pretty laid back about what I will get. And I don't think that's the case with everyone, but if you're around tattoos all the time, it's just kind of not that big of a deal to me anymore. But I don't think everyone feels the same.
Is this a question and answer situation?
Oh, yeah,
Sure.
just ask anything.
When, I have a tattoo that it was my first tattoo and I love it, but it's all kind of fuzzy and kind of mushing together now. It's been, honestly, 15 years. Is there a way to clean that up? Get rid of some of them and maybe start more striking lines, or?
There may be no getting rid of per se, but you would be surprised sometimes, depending on what it is, that just doing a new fresh outline and kind of reestablishing the borders of everything, even doing some pops of colors or something, can really change and kind of bring back turn back the clock on those tattoos. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that can be done, and we do some work of that because kind of like what I was saying earlier, the reality is they do age and grow and change just as we do,
Yeah, I mean, I'm much older now. And everything's sort of blurring together, if you will. But, well, that's good to know. I kind of like to have it looked at.
Just kind of sharpen it up.
Because I really like it a lot.
Yeah, you should stop by the shop sometime, or if you go to our website, you can email Jess. We'll get back to you. But yeah, we could definitely check it out and talk and see what exactly you want to do, and in our opinion what we should do that'll give you the best result. But there's definitely.
I didn't know if I had to.
No, definitely not. I mean, you can go to whoever.
The different
Man, we're too cool for cards.
The
You
fact
kidding
that we
me?
got all of this
Cards.
here,
Want some cards?
and ourselves,
Yeah.
and every.
We're here in the flesh.
I was just impressed we didn't forget something.
No, we did not bring any cards.
I just want to get the lines without your.
We can't give it all out. No, I'm just kidding. I like business cards, like. But
I'll bring some back down here since their art's gonna be up for the
That would
next
be
month or
good,
something.
yes.
I have another question.
yeah.
I got a temporary tattoo, you know, one of those stick on, but it says, you know, nevertheless she persisted. I want to have it permanent. But I know you can't do it over this, but if you could do it with just words, you know,
Oh,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all the time.
then it's all like, well, it's doing what it's doing, it's cracking.
yeah.
Yeah, we do like script and word tattoos a lot, and any if there's like a specific font style or script, yeah, we can definitely do that for you.
Let's do it today.
You ready to be up here? Shoot me a message, and we can get you in soon. You could come in and, if you were ready for the lettering tattoo, you could get that and talk about reworking the other one. If you're on Instagram, you can message us that way, but all our contact stuff's on our website. And
Okay.
it's just timeandtidetattoo.com.
Yeah, I saw you on Facebook, you come follow me.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yes. That our Facebook page, I've gotten better about updating it some, but I'd say our website, it's linked to our Instagram, so it has even more updated stuff constantly. Yes, thanks for giving us a second.
It is interesting how you put down color, but it, then it wipes off as you're doing that.
Yeah, and kind of when you first start tattooing it, there's kind of a learning curve because, yeah, there's this ink that pools on the skin quite a bit, and you've got to, still remember or feel kind of where your needles are at in the skin, but you need that pigment pool because it helps kind of like pull and saturate in the color. It can be very hard with some colors if you don't kind of have like a good solid like ink flow and kind of some pool on the skin.
Well,
helps.
like you mentioned, yellow or lighter colors.
Mm-hmm.
So since there's yellow in this, will that be an issue as far as time goes, or?
No, not at all. And yellow actually was a color when I first got into tattooing that used to kind of like trip me up a little bit because with lighter colors, and this is way more prevalent in black and gray, but the lighter the tones are, the easier it's to see like the blood underneath the skin and kind of irritation. So yellow can very quickly kind of appear orangey or, get very like, irritated. And if you, either don't have the best grasp on what you're doing or kind of know, like, okay, this pigment is going into the skin is just, really upset. You might do another pass and you might say, well, okay, it still doesn't look solid. I need to go over it again. And, if the skin, being a living, organ, there is only so much, holes you can poke in there before, imagine like a berry or a bag or something, you poke a couple holes that, it's still fine, but you start really going at it, the weaker it gets, So you can't just, waylay and go crazy on, somebody's skin, because you will cause them to, heal up kind of hard or potentially scar, even if you're not very careful.
Jonathan, what color did you bring? I feel like I left my shaver.
I might have spoke too soon about forgetting things.
Did you bring any extras or no?
I don't think I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Smart guy.
Oh, stop. Did you look really good in the photo?
I'm sorry, man.
Oh no, it's okay.
Hey, Megan. Can you kind of get a shot of like everybody from That is kind of nice to, like people that are watching, if you guys don't mind being in a picture.
You go with that?
Yeah, usually I'm the one taking all the pictures. Like, I'm kind of out of commission for that right now. Thank you.
Yeah, with this lighter green, I mean,
It's pretty. I mean, I'm like right on top of it, but it looks cool.
no, but you can see like when we first do it, and then now over here, like the blood is kind of pooled on the skin, and
Oh, yeah.
you know.
Oh, wow.
So but when Wyatt Dick comes back, but it's just interesting
It
if
is
you
really interesting.
don't know like what to kind of look for or what you're doing, you're like, wow, that didn't saturate, and I gotta go over that again, and then before you know it, you tattooing a hamburger.
Oh, don't say that. I've been okay up until now.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that a lot of people have like a misconception that it's just the ink like under the skin that stays there, but actually it's the
Guess what?
immune response, like it's the cells
Luckily I
that show
can
up and like
shade
actually
with a liner.
grab the
Isn't that
ink and
cool?
then die.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's actually like, because I didn't know that, and I looked it up like a couple years ago. And so a lot of people just think it's just skin under the ink, but actually it's
You got it.
your
Not long.
immune response like grabs it.
Oh, that's interesting.
And
Yes.
then it sticks.
Yep. So it does have to be applied into like an ideal layer in the skin, because what you have happen if the ink is like applied unevenly, or if it's not in the right layer of skin, let's say it's too shallow, then it will fall out quicker. And I mean, it fall out as quickly as like a couple weeks once it's all healed up, or certain areas will fade sooner or whatever. But if you go too deep and you go past the right layer in the skin, then those cells and the tissue there's it's not able to kind of hold in place, so you get this kind of fuzziness that fades out. And I mean, depending on how much pigment is in that layer, it can fade out and become hazier even more. So those I'm spacing on the name of those cells that come and eat the pigment.
I'll just do like.
There's something to do. It has to do with the lymphatic system.
I can't remember though. I looked at like years ago, and
But they do start to eat the pigment. They have a very hard time eating it, and that's why tattoos are able to last a very long time, and also why they kind of fade over time and stuff.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Now, of course, one of the other things that helps them, that's like their biggest ally, is the sun, because UV rays are what actually break up tattoo pigment. So that's why we always say to, be very careful of like being in the sun, especially like with a fresh tattoo, or, if you're going to be out for a long time, use sunscreen.
It's sort of amazing if they stick around as long as they do.
Yeah.
Because don't they regenerate?
Yeah, 7 years they say.
Yeah, but tattoos, my dad, his stayed, for a long time.
Yeah,
It was
me too.
like mine, kind of brown and fuzzy.
Yeah.
But, you could tell it was an eagle and stuff. But
When did he get his? What?
in the army,
Yeah.
gosh,
Probably.
50s, I swear, he was young,
Uh-huh.
maybe 60s.
Oh, okay.
That was only 59, so, yeah. He was pretty kind.
Yeah, and that's kind of a neat thing too, because I feel like a lot of people get tattoos as a symbol of like bonding or love with somebody else, so matching tattoos. I think that's kind of a cool thing about it.
My friend, went through a couple Christmases ago, and she's doing a tattoo of one of a favorite plants of theirs, a flower that it's not a rose, it's not anything very typical, but it means a lot. It's beautiful. And it's got lots of greenery, other kind of greenery around it too. So yeah, it can be really personal.
Yeah.
Well, it is.
It's about as personal as you get, I think.
I didn't really this design.
So we're
That's cool, yeah, just beginning to do like a,
it's kind of like a very earthy, muted gray, kind of earthy tones in it, but we're starting to
but
work
it's
up.
warming too. Is that my blood or is it like kind of a,
This like kind of pinkish along the edge.
that's blood, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And irritation, yep.
Yeah, because this has kind of an interesting part to me just because I've never had color, you know, so.
May I approach the bench?
Of course.
Maybe.
See how saturated it is, and then he wipes it off.
Yeah.
And
Oh my gosh.
Isn't
that's
that
gonna
interesting?
Be gorgeous. Wow.
It's nice because you can set up your machine and how you tattoo. You know, I could saturate that area quicker, you know, if I wanted to, but
does anybody else want to look at it at this point? Because it's just kind of interesting how now that he's like adding color, it just, yeah, my skin's reacting a lot more to it.
mm-hmm.
Not too bad, right?
I've got to take off.
Oh, thank you for coming. You'll have to see the after pictures. Or come in and see my art.
Shaving with this 11 thick.
Oh, dang, dude.
Going wild.
What's going on? Did they forget something they need?
Yeah, so the type of, like, still needles and stuff that, like, we're, you know, using right now, but I'll kind of show you, and if anyone wants to come up real quick. This is called, like, we just call it a magnum or a mag, but it's, this is 9 needles, but instead of how I was saying earlier, how they're packed tightly together to make like a dot or a line, these are fanned out almost like a paintbrush, so you can cover more area and cause less trauma.
Interesting. Isn't it kind of fascinating art, I think. I mean, I can't even imagine doing this as an art, because I think I used to like do all my best drawings on like the cheap paper, you know, charcoal, you know, and then when I got my expensive piece of paper to do my drawing on, I was such a nervous wreck. So I can't
Let me have
imagine,
you readjust real quick and just kind of come back
so I
down
kind
a
of
little
can't
bit.
imagine, you know,
On a
the
body.
feeling of someone's body, you know, because I couldn't even handle like a $3 piece of paper without becoming a mess, you know.
I'm glad you got over that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just impressed at how the likeness, I mean, do you do art on canvas as well?
Well, did you see us
Oh.
show up?
Not
here?
canvas, but like that bird painting and
Yeah,
the
that tanager.
those are 2 of mine.
Oh, right. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that
but-
was.
Can you tattoo that light blue that's in that canvas?
Mm.
Is that tattoo color?
In which one?
In the tanager?
You're talking about like the flower.
Like in the flower?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Well, I was gonna say, Neil and I have gotten to know each other. He got the short end of the stick of the relationship, you know, because I get to put him in pain and then tell him to give me money for it. But once we're done here, Neil actually has almost his entire backside done, and he's willing to show that.
I think it's about 50% of my body.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's been coming to us like every couple of
I
weeks for like
estimated
years.
the coverage using burn charts. There are ways to estimate how much, and then I had this idea of that's how I'm gonna do. I think it's about 56%.
I mean, it's from the base of his neck, his entire back, entire butt, to the backs of his knees. Yeah.
But they've also done his arms and
One
chest.
and a half arms.
Yeah.
Wow.
We've been busy.
Do you have any kind of theme to your work, or is? I mean, yeah.
It's, you'll see.
Yes. Okay.
There's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of common elements. There's a lot of skulls and there's a lot of rabbits. But there's a lot of weird stuff. There's a lot of water.
Yeah.
I still remember the first time I met Neil, and we were doing a tattoo for his stomach, which stomach tends to be a pretty gnarly area.
Yeah, that's nice.
But I remember his email just describing like the different kind of like emotions and like what he wanted to, the rabbit to like display. And it's been cool that, like there's a tattoo on his arm that's kind of like galaxy and like spacey, and there's a rocket ship that has like these antennas that kind of look like rabbit ears, and
That's cool.
So, and then his back piece has like a hair, so it's kind of cool that that's been like just the theme with other elements.
I assume you mean rabbit ears, not from my generation, rabbit ears.
Yeah.
Antenna.
Yeah, you are telling our age now.
Can I put your picture on Facebook?
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
care. I mean,
Take it.
I'm just here for the sake of art, okay? And I really do, like supporting this as an art. I think it took a while for me to understand what tattooing is, and what the body is such an interesting canvas, and I find the artists who are artists as tattoo artists use the shape of the body, like that's very much considered when the design is created. Like the first tattoo I got, I had designed this circle with all these meaningful, like I had an owl and a moon and stuff in it. And then Ransom, who did that tattoo for me, he like broke up all the elements of my drawing and made it, like go around the curve of my back and like around my shoulder bone. So he said, that looks like a decal, and instead of making it a decal, he made it like, all of a sudden it clicked in my brain that, wow, this is really a form of art.
Yeah.
That works around the bone structure and just the body. So I had a completely different, experience and thought of what that art is.
Remember that. Like, think about all the things John can say, like how many layers. And
Yeah,
it's way
yeah.
more complicated when he actually like says all of these, like all the things that they're considering and everything.
Yeah, it'll be cool to show Neil's back, because Neil's back is kind of the extreme of that. Is you're working with like this very large area. Sorry, I'm just kind of moving you a little bit.
Yeah, just do whatever you want.
But you'll see how certain elements kind of fall and go with like the curvature of the body, and like
This is
you have
pretty
to.
gentle.
Back pieces are, it's like the only area on the body that's uninterrupted, in the sense of like really you've just got like a butt crack, right?
Yeah.
But on the torso you've got like nipples, a belly button. On like a limb, you're working with the obstacle of like warping.
Yeah,
And you need this image that as the eye has to move not only like vertically but horizontally around also, where the back is like as close to like a canvas that you actually get. So it'll be really cool to see that like in a large scale kind of piece. So we've moved into the wax wings. Kind of have this warm, nutty kind of caramelly brown that goes around their head and their mask. So we've kind of moved from a duller kind of brown earthy gray to more of that warm brown in the head now. But we're still working with our relatively like dark and more earthy and muted tones before we get to our brighter berries.
I'm kind of anxious to see that, the bright.
I want to see those berries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to do all the legwork, so to speak, to get those areas to really pop. And even like doing this brighter color behind the bird will, help add a pop of color, but also like, push that forward. And
Hi, Colleen. Welcome. Oh, really?
That was you?
Oh, you guys slip over by Colleen and Mary?
Oh, John's one of those
Oh,
right next to
Hi.
Hey, Duane, how are you doing on time?
I'm okay,
You're okay?
yeah.
Okay.
How long it takes you to get all your tattoos?
It sounds like a lot.
How long it takes
Well-
to get that much coverage?
The total was probably about, I got a few smaller items with Giacomo tattooed me in 2012, I think.
I had like forgotten about that.
We did the Ouroboros around the pentagram on my the snake. Anyways, and that was like that was in 2012, maybe 5 hours or something like that. But then in 22, no, it was the fall of 21, because it was like after coming out of the COVID and like lockdowns and stuff. Yeah, because like when you first started doing, is that right? Yeah, I think,
it's got to be fall of 2021, I feel like. Because Ivan wasn't born yet, my son.
That's when it started, so, right, so it's been, I got the thing with my stomach done, and then it was like about 10 months, and then I started coming back in the fall of 22, and it's been constant since then. So I'll come back and we'll start some more work in January, I think. But like,
With pieces like that, it's crazy because he'd come in and Jonathan would work on him for hours and then he just heals for 2 weeks and comes right back in. Like that is a strain on your body. It's just, just constantly healing and coming right back in for more. Like he has covered so much area and
so I think probably about 140 hours.
Wow.
that's a lot of hours getting tattooed.
Yeah, there were some sessions where like we'd tattoo for like 3 hours, and then you'd look and it'd be like, man, like did we even do anything today?
Pieces are so big.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
just chipping away at areas at a time on stuff that's so big.
My water. I don't want to like bend over. Thank you.
Yeah, I think I've been tattooed about 50 times. It's been about 140 hours. It's been like a 3-year period.
That sounds about right.
About $14,000.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it's art.
Thank you.
Yes.
I am not shy that Neil has helped me pay my bills and support my family.
This was
You okay, Jasmine?
became, I've always been interested in tattooing, but when it became, important to me at some point, and I had some things to say, and,
Yeah.
Yeah, and also, I think I enjoy the crazy I enjoy Jonathan.
One of the cool things that
Staff at the shop.
I like to see Neil come in. He's a great client.
Well, it was fun because Neil would actually like bring in drawings and like, he would even like be like looking at like other tattooer stuff, and he'd be like, I looked at this Philip Liu, which is like you know, in tattooing, that's like, I mean, if there's like a Mount Rushmore of tattooing, he would probably be up there. But, you know, that's not just like a name that like every client is just going to say when they're in a tattoo shop. But,
Looking for a cool dragon. He's drawn dozens and dozens of dragons tattooed hundreds of people.
That seems to be a good point though, because it sounds like what's happened over time is like it's a collaboration very much.
Yeah,
You
like,
know, it's
you know, well, you were talking about the differences between, you know, a flat medium and a body, you know, like you know, tattooed and, well, I don't know what that means. But, so my flat paper, you know, design ideas get transformed by something.
Yeah. And that's just so cool. I love it. I think it's a fascinating art form. I'm right on top of it. How's it looking? Yeah. Yeah. But it's been a long, long time ago. Yeah. No.
Jeff, do you think this is easier than the mag?
Those little dots are the colors that you need to do this. Is that what those little dots are? Sorry, I
So-
came in late.
no, you're
No,
fine.
yeah.
Same as like for a painting with, you know, swatching colors. This is like done digitally on like an iPad, but, you know, there's pros and cons to, you know, using the iPad. But one thing is nice is there's like a dropper tool, so I would just kind of go through and pick, you know, okay, this is what I used for this. Let me try and match that to an ink, or do I need to mix, you know, to get this kind of color? Because to get some of these like variants and grays and stuff, I already pre-mix them, you know, here, and then I'll also mix as I'm tattooing. Because as you know, if you dip from one pigment to another, and that tattoo needle is just going like this, it will blend those two inks together, and you get, you know, a mid-tone between those two, and if this was 50 years ago, I would have had to break somebody's leg to give that information. I mean, tattooing like historically was always like, you know, very overtly like masculine. You know, if somebody opened up a shop, you know, 2 blocks away, you know, you made sure to throw a brick through that window, you know, to say, hey, thanks neighbor, thanks for taking my business. No, but.
Were there tattoos, I mean, when did people start getting tattoos? Like, is it historically very?
I mean, they find these fossilized remains that have, you know, images still present on the body. So, you know, we've been, you know, marking ourselves ever since like we realized we could. Now, as far as like what we know as like modern tattooing, you know, definitely it's jumped quite a bit over the last, you know, 100 odd years. You know, I mean, tattooing has gone through such a evolution from, you know, even being like the tattooed man in like a circus poster, you know, or these, one thing is, I mean, there's tons of like women that used to have like full body pieces and, you know, were a part of like a circus act.
Right.
To, you know, being, you know, synonymous with like, yeah, like servicemen, and even the, so what's common in like traditional tattooing is like patchwork kind of sleeves, where it's not this like necessarily, you know, composed, like when you see like Neil's back, it's all one like thing, as if like a big painting on a big canvas. But in the military, you know, they would get these kind of like palm to hand size tattoos because, you know, service wise, if it could be covered with a hand, you were okay to get it. But if it was larger, then, you know, that was going to be a problem. So they would get all these kind of like palm to hand size tattoos, you know, just wherever they could. And that, you know, became kind of like a, you know, a style of sleeve, or, you know, like where you could get all these different images that didn't have to be tied to like, you know, this one subject matter or like, you know, composition. So that's where, you kind of see somebody who's got like a snake and dagger, and then they've got a bald eagle, and, there's a panther head, and...
Also, these smaller pieces may have been a function of limited shore lead time.
Sure, yeah.
You're on a ship.
That's a very good
You're on a
point.
ship. It's 1944, you're in New York for 9 hours, or you're going somewhere else.
That's very
You
true.
don't have a lot of time to
No,
get something
100%.
complicated large.
Well, then the healing too. If
Yeah.
you learn about the word.
Yeah.
So like both of those things. Yeah, that's smart.
Well, now it's looking like there's red. Now I'm like, oh my God, red blood.
We are just dry needling right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we've started on the berries.
What's the dry needle?
Oh, if you were to just like, with no pigment on the needles, just, start tattooing somebody, which, I mean, we do something sometimes called bloodlining, if like maybe you don't want an actual line there, but you need kind of a guide or something.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
Most of the time, or like what I would do is like dip into water. I don't know why just going at it dry just seems wrong, but maybe if I'm real ornery that day, or but yeah, I mean, sometimes like if I didn't want there to be a line, maybe for where I needed this gradient or something.
Yeah.
I could, with no pigment on the needles, run like a line, and it would just have like a red line.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That makes total sense.
That would, just be gone once the tattoo healed and stuff.
That looks cool. Looks good.
Yeah. Where all this will really get elevated to is once we start getting some more of those lighter tones, and even when we go back and add some highlights here and there.
Contrast,
Mhm.
it makes such a difference.
Right.
Hey Megan, will you get another just shot of it at this point? Kind of cool because he's not done the highlights yet.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm so fascinated.
Is it bad?
No.
Okay.
It's starting to burn.
Hell yeah.
That would feel good.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, I can kind of peel back a little bit too.
Thank you. Wow, that looks so neat, doesn't it?
I'm like, which one?
Oh, you're like, this is perfect, let's wrap it up. I'm good.
I know she's so tattooed, and when I was saying something, she was like, "Well, it hurts." And I'm like, "Look at you."
Huh?
Tattooed you when you first started tattooing. When was that?
I don't remember.
Well, it's been at least how many years?
Well, that was at Skinquake downtown. It was. Like, it was before Roman was born.
Turtle was right behind Skinquake, which was my
Is it still there?
Red is still so red.
Nice.
Was the Skinquake by Wandering Turtle?
It was. I just don't know if he was there then.
I don't remember. I just remember Wandering Turtle was
That was my gallery.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah, and it was, so we had a common area there at Sixth and College.
I don't remember.
But yeah, I used to go, and there was an artist that worked there that I ended up showing his photography at London for that. And
Josh Smith?
Yeah.
That's the one who's the buddy.
Yeah, Josh Smith. He worked there, and
He was a piercer.
Yeah, he was a piercer.
okay, that's what it
Yeah, he
was.
still comes around and I
Yeah, he's still Steve. And,
Yeah.
and yeah, and he was a good photographer, and I showed his photographs.
Oh, nice.
One of the first
I didn't know that.
Did they tell you it was Skin Quake?
Oh my god, it was definitely a house.
Yeah,
So I don't know where I was.
So, Skinquake was in a house.
Oh,
Skinquake wasn't a house.
Giacomo just said
Yeah.
Skinquake was in a house.
Thank you.
It was.
Okay.
You were in a legit establishment.
That's good. That's good. It's only been 97 maybe?
Yeah.
That seems right. Yeah.
Wow, the berries are looking cool.
Yeah.
Like if you walk into a place like tattoos, it just made it about one, but they just happen to like have all the that's
Like, yeah, all right.
this is that's a story. That'll be in your life forever. Yes. And in those olden days, you could steal before social media. You could go around and steal pictures from other tattooers' portfolios, and then put them on your book or pretend it was yours, and then get a job at a tattoo studio and tattoo someone,
Well,
and then get fired when you're in the middle of their tattoo.
that actually happened to Colin. Or, well, someone
obviously,
stole
I was gonna say-
Colin's, one of his old, no, it was one of his old portfolio books. Yeah, it was a dude at Skinquake. He just like bounced, but he took Colin's portfolio with him. Yeah.
I mean,
It was me.
Yeah, he's in the room with us.
you start trying to tattoo and can't do anything like.
Well, but here's the other thing though too to that is, and Colin told me a story, you know, back, you know, in conventions and stuff, especially before social media, and you know, you would take like Polaroids of your tattoos, and they were almost like trading cards because it was so hard to see other tattoos, or at least other very good tattoos, or what, you know, these other big names were doing, because there wasn't like a Instagram or, you know, so, you know, you would take your stack of, you know, tattoos, and, you know, maybe you would trade a couple for this, and you know, well, here's this tattoo, I've never seen this guy, maybe the way he uses, you know, these colors together, or I've never seen something drawn like this. Well, and you know, I'll trade for that, and you know, so it's kind of interesting. But yeah, I mean,
There are a lot of nice glossy tattoo art magazines now, but I think, say like in the 70s or 80s even, they were rare. There were publications, they were kind of Xerox things that you would have to know, you know, you would enter an ad in the back of the biker magazine or something.
Yeah.
Someone could send you flash sheets.
Yeah.
right. And one thing too about
Then
the,
like Spalding and Rogers started doing the
mm-hmm.
That's the going together, isn't it? Is that good or bad? Spalding and Rogers having a big mail order business in the 90s. Is that contributing to?
I mean,
I don't know. I really don't have any opinion.
it's tough because I feel like, yeah, I don't know. That almost still seems so otherworldly in the sense. I remember like Colin telling me about, yeah, like putting in like a magazine order, you know, and like waiting like 2.5 months or 3 months for like, you know, this stuff to come, or flash sheets, or, you know. And then it's like by the time you know, get it, like, it's like, man, these are really cool. Now I can only imagine what these guys are doing now, you know, and then you got to wait another like, you know, year to see that. And
You okay? Mm-hmm.
And you make my arm look thinner.
We'll fix it in post.
It's so cool.
Yes.
I like that, like, what's the word? Like, dopamine and that, just from watching it. Like,
Yeah.
It just feels really good.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know, it just like triggers that in my head. So.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, it's exciting because it's art, and I think art does that.
It's
you
like
know?
secondhand endorphins over here.
Yeah.
All right, our first really bright pop of color.
Ooh, that is.
Now you'll see like it's very yellow, kind of goldish right now, but we'll watch as that kind of changes as the irritation becomes more present. Yeah,
now
it's like,
red.
well, we did orange and red, and that was yellow for a second.
Tell you what, I'll spray it again and then we'll finish it, okay? It's almost there. Huh? Okay.
Yeah.
I know, I can't wait to see yours change.
Yeah, it's really looking cool. I know, you can't see it over there. Yeah, you're good.
It is coming up like once. I saw that picture.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow, baby.
Oh, you're great.
Little cutie.
Yeah, so cute.
This little.
Picture of this one?
Of course, yeah.
My, they live in California, but my sister-in-law is like the biggest, also the biggest like big cat fan. So she appreciate it. Red.
Cool.
Yeah, he's got a few tattoos.
Nice. I know, I have some animals, but I do not have a cat yet.
Yeah, when you really don't have a cat head?
No.
Wow.
Will you send it to me? Thank you. Oh, good. Yeah, that's awesome.
There's a chili thing that Oh, blue, God, there's so cute.
Neil.
Dark gray, all dark.
Oh, like really good. Okay. Never mind, I guess.
She's definitely one of my favorite cats.
Wow, this is beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. She's just pretty.
Yeah, it's really coming together with the colors and it does look really good. The expression on the cat's face.
Yes, I wanted to do it cute, but also
Yeah. Like we'll call her. Yeah, maybe not as a twin. I mean, just
What's that?
an adolescent.
yeah, it's more like a tween.
It is. It's a tween.
I had a good laugh last night. I was standing back there on the porch, and I started to see something move, and I haven't seen one in a little while, but just the cutest, fattest little possum came out.
Yeah, we've got groundhogs back there too.
Yeah.
Yeah, possums. I just love possums. They're so cute. Yeah, so there's a lot of that. Anybody don't like them? And yeah, let me tell you, well,
He looked like it. It was one thing I love about the feeders at my house is, you know, during the day we get all, you know, the birds and squirrels and, you know, that's the chipmunks and stuff. But at night, I'll get like skunks out there or possums, and I had no idea. I mean, there was like the other week, I didn't realize there were like different types of skunks, because there was one who's like that white on their back was like the entire like top side of his back and his tail, and I was like, this like skunk is so like white. And
yeah, it's just different coloration. I mean, it's probably the same species and everything. It's just totally different. Yeah.
hello.
Hi, come on in. Because I just think they're cute. They have a tag like in Marshall, I think, and it's like all white.
Yeah.
And now they have a little kid that looks like a more normal.
Yeah.
A more normal.
Yeah.
And they split like their little.
Like, yeah.
North American stuff.
Yeah, I mean, from the like bird's eye view of this, so when I first, no pun intended, when I first like realized that we were getting skunks out there at night, one of my like main bird feeders is right by like the refrigerator, like kitchen, like window. And it's open, and I'm looking, and I see this like fluffy tail, and I'm like, there is no way a squirrel is out here right now, like eating food off the ground. And I'm like, yeah, I'm like, what are you doing, man? So I'm like looking, and the window is like, you know, halfway open, and then it dawns on me, and I'm like, oh, that's a skunk. And I'm like, I mean, I'm like as close, like my bird feeder's that close, and I'm just like very gently shutting the window, and but they're so chill. I mean,
They don't want to spray.
yeah, that's what I learned is it's like an inconvenience for them to actually do it.
So small, I had one that was pure white, except for one black dot on his nose.
Oh wow.
He was just walking down there, and say hi. And, you know, he looked up at me, but, you know, they don't, that's just a defense mechanism. And I wasn't threatening him. So it was really cool. He was a big one, too. He was a big one.
Yeah, they're so cute. Tails like the same length as their body, you know, and it's just back there all poofed out behind them. Yeah, we would get like multiples, and you know, it was so funny. I mean, one of them was like a dog. It was just like laying there rolling around and like licking itself. And
Have you ever tattooed a skunk? On somebody?
I have not actually.
They spray it.
I was gonna say, now that would be a good excuse to spray.
But no, I have not tattooed a skunk. I feel like Giacomo's had to have done a skunk.
What'd you say?
You've probably tattooed you've done like a skunk tattoo, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember when that was, but I have.
All right, we are on to kind of the like finishing touches.
Cool. It feels fine. I mean, it's, you know, like, maybe I'll go home and cry, but I don't know, but it feels,
Through it.
it feels fine right now.
I think you would have cried during, not after. You'd be like, I'm good.
I've had a little bit from the
Yeah, well, that would make sense, yeah.
Yes, smack means good.
Yeah.
Stretch.
The one we just got on New York, you said you didn't get trouble.
It was very simple.
I don't remember dimension, but it's been so long ago that
Yeah.
I might just forget.
This one will probably get pretty itchy. Yeah, it was a little too calm in here. Had to ramp it back up a little bit. So I'm going back to kind of a liner because the highlights and stuff that we're doing are a little bit more finer and need a little bit more accuracy.
It's in the eye, and it's really popping. Oh, is that cool?
Almost done, okay? We'll be done when he's done. There you go.
I love that almost done. I said, you said that a few times.
Right?
Little highlights on the berries. Yeah, there's some really cute ones. A lot of them are so pretty. If I don't get them like a local place, then I try to get local. Yeah.
Alright, I'm gonna give you a good wipe, but I think we might be all done.
Cool. Hey Megan, will you take a picture of it done? Yeah. I know. He
What time is it?
oh my
Put a
God,
little
you
bit
were
of
so
Bactine
right
on there
on.
and kind of soothe the skin a little bit, let it sit for a few minutes and get some pictures also.
Okay,
Kind of
sure.
try and take some of the redness away.
Yeah, thank you.
But yeah, do you want to take a quick peek at it?
It's so beautiful.
Duane, you got a
Yeah.
shot?
I'll get a close up here.
That is.
Good.
So good.
You are so awesome.
Megan has appeared with a mirror.